Right now on the National Weather Desk, the long cleanup. We're back in Tennessee as tornado survivors look to piece their lives back together. And we'll show you how deadly twisters are born. A breakthrough agreement on fossil fuels at the World Climate Summit, even as we learn the Arctic just had its warmest summer ever. Sky watchers, take note. Tonight's the night for one of the best meteor showers of the year. And meet a meteorologist who doesn't forecast the weather, but instead spends much of her time in court.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Well, good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Eileen Whalen. Well, the National Weather Service now confirms 6 separate tornadoes hit Middle Tennessee last weekend, killing 6 people. The strongest twister was an EF3 that hit Clarksville with 150-mile-per-hour winds. That one was on the ground for 43 miles. We begin our coverage this morning with Peyton Muse, who is with people sifting through their mangled belongings.
Casey Grayview and his wife lost their Clarksville townhome to a tornado. Grayview driving at almost 100 miles per hour from Nashville back to Clarksville to rescue the thing they cared about most.
My wife is 20 weeks pregnant and we took off in a full sprint down the road down here to get to our dog.
The Grayviews found Milo on the second floor of their townhome without a scratch.
This is basically where I came to see if my dog was still alive. I could see just his head from here. Half the wall was on top of his cage.
No loss of life at the Grayviews complex, but serious injuries for one neighbor.
There is a dumpster right there it's a 20-footer. It was picked up by the tornado, smacked into the side of the house, and then came this way and hit her house.
Junior Barajas gathered his roofing crews from across the country to step in and help not only in Clarksville, but everyone in Middle Tennessee.
Our first priority for those individuals that do have, homes that are absolutely destroyed is obviously trying to get everything that they cherish.
Taking an extra mile to attempt to salvage some of what is left, not charging a dime.
We're going to go ahead and tarp it, provide those services, board up any windows.
These roofers exemplifying the rallying cry of neighbors helping neighbors. Tennessee strong.
The sound of progress. A skid loader pushing remnants of power lines behind Jolly Ollie's Pizza and Pub in Hendersonville. The owners, Michael and Delia Knight, are cleaning up after suffering a direct hit from Saturday's EF2 tornado.
It's break my heart that everything we built, the fun place for this community gone, but that 30 people that have been in our property, employees and customers are safe. It's all matters.
As bad as it is, the Knights have been here before. They started over in 2019 after a devastating fire.
We went through this 4 years ago. We're going through it again. But, it made us stronger the first time we did it, and I only can pray that it's going to make us stronger this time.
But rebuilding won't happen overnight, and the Knights worry about their employees. They're asking other merchants to hire them until they can reopen.
It was all blown out, but we just didn't move.
This Madison church in the direct path of a violent tornado.
I was waiting, thinking that was my last moment.
Reverend Vincent Johnson, the senior pastor at Community Baptist Church, says he looked out the window after hearing tornado sirens. And
we saw a real dark cloud just beginning to circulate, to move.
Reverend Johnson says he was in the sanctuary at the time and called over to his adjacent building. That's where 35 people were gathering for a pastoral banquet.
I was thrown from the table out of my chair. It was just raining so hard I couldn't breathe. I was going to get up and I couldn't because the beam was across me.
And just days later, a bruised Brenda Lucas recalls those terrifying moments.
I was just screaming because I couldn't feel. I thought my legs were gone.
Now the group tells me the fact that all 35 people inside the church survived is a miracle.
Alabama is also still cleaning up following storms last weekend. Survey crews with the National Weather Service were back in the field on Tuesday, visiting areas that were inaccessible on Sunday and Monday. They confirmed there were 2 EF1 tornadoes that touched down within a 5-minute period just after midnight Sunday morning.
There were very weak signatures on radar, very hard to detect, which is frustrating. for us at the Weather Service, but there was a severe thunderstorm warning that was in place. And we always say that folks need to pay attention to the severe thunderstorm warnings as well.
So far, the Jefferson County EMA, which includes Birmingham, reports 27 trees on houses across the county. Now, that total does not include buildings that were damaged by other debris. Overnight, nearly 200 nations at the climate summit in Dubai reached a breakthrough agreement. They approved an agreement that calls for transitioning away from fossil fuels like gas, oil, and coal. Those are believed to be one of the primary causes of climate change. The deal calls on nations to accelerate the shift away from fossil fuels this decade. The goal is to stop adding carbon dioxide to the atmosphere by the middle of the century. The agreement is not binding, so it's unclear if everyone will adhere to the deal. And word of that deal comes as we learned the summer in the Arctic region was the warmest on record. NOAA scientists examined the Arctic's vital signs from October of 2022 to last September. They found sea ice continues to shrink while the vast and typically frozen northern biome has a record 43 degrees. Scientists have said the Arctic continues to warm 4 times faster than the rest of the Earth due to climate change. Well, the warmer temperatures have been good news for some. Winemakers in Virginia say this year has been a fantastic year for grape growing because of the warm and dry conditions. Anahita Jeffrey has more.
This year was just exceptional. If I had to give it a grade, it would definitely be an A.
AJ Greeley is in charge of making wine at Hark Vineyards. Rows empty now because the grapes have been harvested and moved inside.
The weather was just phenomenal. It was super dry. Very little disease pressure, very little pest pressure. Pretty outstanding across the board.
She says despite a little bit of rain, the grapes off the vines are great.
It was a very compact season for us. The fruit, the numbers, the chemistry that came in was just outstanding. So I think you will see some phenomenal wines coming out of the 2023 vintage.
Now the next phase begins in turning all of this very nice grape juice into even better wine.
We're just kind of hanging, stirring and taking care and keeping everything safe. Once we return from the holiday season, we'll look at blendings and prepping things for bottling.
Well, one of the best shows in the Northern Hemisphere, night sky peaks tonight. We are talking about the Geminid Meteor Shower. Now, this could be one of the best light shows in years since the peak of the meteor shower times up with the perfectly new moon. Meteorologist Brian Vandegraff has more on the shower and the best way you can view it.
Well, the Geminid Meteor Shower will peak tonight, quite the celestial event, and the good news here is that we have a nearly new moon, so that means we're not going to have as much light pollution out there. I mean, we're talking dozens of meteors per hour. The best viewing, obviously, away from city lights. I do want to show you a graphic here. Portions of the nation are going to have some clouds, so it could be a little bit tricky, but where you see the green, that's the best viewing. Once again, head out after 9, 10 o'clock, not so late. Look straight up, but make sure you're away from light pollution, and it should be an amazing sight.
Morning fog can take several different forms. Birmingham meteorologist Evan Chikvara looks at fog formed over the Black Warrior River.
We call this steam fog. You'll get this at times when the surrounding air is much colder than the little thin layer of air just above a warmer body of water. This cools, it mixes, it evaporates, condenses very quickly, and you get this eerie and actually in this case beautiful look at steam fog.
Well, time now to check on the weather at cities across the country, and we start out with a view of Coconut Island in Hilo, Hawaii. That is on the west coast of the Big Island, and today should be mostly clear with highs in the upper 70s. Oh, sounds nice. And next we head to Sedona, Arizona, and the beautiful red rocks surrounding this desert town. You are looking at what's known as Camel Rock and Snoopy Rock. Sedona is looking at sunny skies today with highs in the low 50s. Well, next we head north to Marquette along Lake Superior in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Today is expected to be partly cloudy, but the mercury's going to struggle to top 32 degrees, so bundle up. And finally, here's Myrtle Beach on South Carolina's Atlantic coast. It's expected to be a cloudy day with highs in the mid to upper 50s. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll get a closer look at exactly how tornadoes form and things you can do to stay safe when using space heaters this winter season.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. The weather in the Northeast is looking fairly quiet in the coming days, but it's going to be seasonably cool. Most towns will be in the 30s and low 40s. This afternoon, best chance for a snow shower will be in New York and through northern New England. Now, as we go into our Thursday, notice a lot of sunshine. This is the coolest day we have in the forecast. 30s will be common for highs, but with a lot of sun. Friday begins the warm-up. Look for highs to run in the 40s to near 50 degrees. Enjoy.
I'm meteorologist Jasmine Lomax with a look at the mid-Atlantic region. We're off to a quiet start to the morning. We'll have a cold front move across the region today, and it's really not going to lead to much precipitation. We stay pretty dry with mostly sunny skies across the region. However, behind that cold front, it will be much cooler for Thursday. As we head into the afternoon, highs reach the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Then overnight, temperatures will drop to the 20s and the 30s.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your forecast. As we're looking at the southeast, we're looking at those temperatures in the upper 50s from Nashville and Raleigh. Birmingham, 62 degrees, 65 in Mobile, a high of 78 in Tampa, 76 in West Palm. Mixture of sun and clouds across the southeast. That high pressure will start to lessen its hold over the southeast, and we'll get a little bit of moisture building in from the south as we go through the next few days, especially over parts of Florida as a low develops. Could be a strong low affecting areas like Miami and West Palm with flooding rain.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, with the severe tornadoes that hit the Tennessee area over the weekend, we wanted to take a closer look at exactly how these dangerous wind funnels form. So to do that, we turn to meteorologist John Gum.
So just how does a tornado form? Well, a lot of it has to do with winds, and winds at different levels and how they interact. First, we have the surface winds. These may come in from one direction or another, but the important thing here is the difference in wind speed and direction between these surface winds and the jet stream winds aloft. They're usually faster, and sometimes they're coming in from a different direction. And when you get this combination, we get something we call wind shear. And wind shear is what begins to get the wind spinning. So we get this column of air that is rotating. First of all, it's a horizontal column. It needs something to flip it vertically, and that something is instability and thunderstorm updrafts. Those winds, the warm, moist wind that goes into a thunderstorm, that the thunderstorm sucks that wind up just like a vacuum cleaner. Well, as that wind going up interacts with this rotating column of air, we flip it into the vertical, and we sometimes get what we call a wall cloud. You might notice this with a supercell thunderstorm. It's that low appendage that hangs down. Sometimes that cloud will actually rotate itself as that circulation spins around. And as that circulation spins down to the ground, we can get a tornado. Now, if it doesn't go all the way to the ground, it's a funnel cloud, but when it reaches the ground, that's when we have a tornado. And that's when we get a tornado warning. Tornadoes, one of the deadliest forms of weather that we see in the United States, and we get more tornadoes in the U.S. than any other part of the world.
In Washington state, there are no tornadoes, but there has been plenty of snow, and that's great news for those looking to hit the slopes. Karina Vargas is at the summit at Snoqualmie talking to folks about the delayed start to this year's ski season.
Fresh snow at the summit at Snoqualmie gave them the green light to open their doors. And this is the moment skiers tell us they've been waiting for.
Like a lot of people, we dream about it all summer long, you know, and all fall long too. My mom gave me the love of the mountain, you know, so I've been coming since I was real young and just look forward to it the whole entire time until this hits, you know, and now we're here.
It was a busy day with skiers hitting the slope. Despite a late opening to the ski season at the summit, officials said they were waiting for the right amount of snowfall.
This week was a bit of a roller coaster with the rain events earlier, but thankfully we got about a foot of fresh snow, which really put things over the top and gave us enough to get open.
Skiers enjoying their first day back said the wait was worth it.
It's been great for first day. You know, it's not scrapey. There's stuff to push around. It's great.
While some skiers tell us they've been coming out here for years and feel a sense of nostalgia, others were experiencing the summit for the first time.
This is my first time actually ever, so this is actually a big learning curve from anything I've ever done. Crazy.
Some skiers tell us they're excited for this ski season and being able to bring their kids out.
We come up every year and it's just fun to see their progression of learning and getting out on this wonderful day and all the fresh powder.
Officials at the summit say that because it's still early in the season, they recommend people to be careful when they're skiing because of the thin snow coverage. They ask skiers to look ahead and watch out for any hazards.
Well, as we continue to move into the colder winter months, more people start using space heaters. And if not used properly, they can easily set your house on fire. Chattanooga meteorologist Lexi Horvath has more.
The Chattanooga Fire Department released this video.
Make sure the space heater is plugged directly into an outlet.
Back in 2022 with hopes of showing the possible dangers of space heaters.
Well, we always see a spike in residential fires during the coldest time of the year, those frigid winter months, moving into December, January, and February.
In 2021, the National Fire Protection Association said heating equipment is the leading cause of home fires in the U.S. from December to February. While the Red Cross prefers residents to not use heating equipment sources like space heaters.
You need to use those. Make sure they're at least 3 feet away from anything flammable. Keep them away from walls, away from clothing, furniture, bedding, those type of things. Give at least 3 feet on each side of the portable heater.
While safety is a priority year-round, one expert says it's especially important now as we enter the holiday season.
Be sure to unplug your Christmas lights if you leave your home or at night before you go to bed. Make sure that if you use candles, use them sparingly and use them safely.
The Chattanooga Fire Department says you should always keep anything that can burn at least 3 feet from a heat source. Do not plug a heater into an extension cord and check all smoke alarms. Back in 2022, this Chattanooga home caught fire from a space heater. Chattanooga Fire Department shared the news, warning residents to take caution with their space heaters.
One thing you'll see often is people will get an extension cord and they think they can load that up with a lot of other plugins. And what that does is that overheats that extension cord and that can cause a fire.
Did you know that not all meteorologists forecast weather? Forensic meteorologists look back in time to deconstruct past events and in some cases can help solve crimes. We spoke to a forensic meteorologist to find out what it's like to step into a courtroom as an expert witness.
I love the investigation of finding out what happened, especially on some of the more complicated cases, such as, for example, large airline accidents.
Can you give me an example of how you would be needed in a criminal case?
Well, I've worked a double murder death penalty case, and that had to do with lighting conditions of an eyewitness seeing the two assailants entering, apparently, the house. And then also some of these like major trucking accidents, you know, on the highways and things, cars, trucks, you know, the huge pileups. Those can be tried criminally sometimes.
Do you ever go to court, or are you mostly just writing reports that are running?
Oh no, I go to court quite often.
What is that like?
It's really different. It's almost like theater, except you're dealing with facts, because as an expert witness, you're dealing with facts. But in terms of the whole goings on of walking in and swearing you in, and sometimes they'll even have the judge will have a door where when they go to come in, there's like a big knocker that you take it and they slam it to knock, 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 and the judge comes in. I mean, really, it's kind of like the movies sometimes.
Do you have any really kind of crazy off the wall stories or things you've experienced over the years?
Sometimes we do site visits. Sometimes it's remote, so we have to reach there by helicopter or airplane or something. And so I find that eerie when you're flying the same route, the same thing in the same sort of, equipment, thinking about what happened in the day. But also I did a site visit for that double murder death penalty case I mentioned. And that was eerie. That was very eerie going there where, all these grisly things happened. But then once I get there, I get to business, then I get into my own mode. But sometimes it's a little eerie when I first arrive.
And before a short break, we take flight over Jasper National Park in Canada.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. Things are a little cloudy and rainy down toward the south. We're looking cool and dry back on up toward the north with a cool spot in Little Rock at about 37. Moisture and rain really going to be moving up today, all the way up through Texas and into portions of Oklahoma. So have the umbrella ready for you. Otherwise, temperatures are going to be generally into the 50s for the most part. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia, and that is a look at your regional weather.
Hi, everybody, and a good Wednesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Pretty quiet out west, frankly. We're seeing a respite from the usual rain in the PNW. Back to some sun around Salt Lake City, although some snow is on the way for the Mile High City out of Denver. You can see that storm dropping out of the Rockies as we head into our Wednesday afternoon, pushing into parts of Texas with some rain. Eventually, a damp Wednesday night for Seattle and Portland. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, we've all been there, driving down the road, and as you approach a bridge, you see a sign that says, "Bridge freezes before roadway." But why exactly does that happen? Meteorologist Cheriston Clark recently posted the answer to that question on TikTok.
Here you are on the road, right? And then right about here, you're probably gonna find that sign and it's gonna be like, oh yeah, bridge freezes or ices before roadway. Then you're on the bridge. So let's go ahead and take note of a couple things. So you've got some cold air that is moving below and above that bridge. So now you've got that entire bridge or that overpass surrounded by that cold air. So you've got that road that is so thick, and it's going to take a lot longer for that surface to cool down and ice over compared to the bridge where it's surrounded by that cold air. It doesn't have that surface to really trap in that heat. So that's when we're going to see that surface of the bridge to ice over quickly before that road.
If you want to see more content like this, be sure to check us out on social media. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. For joining us today. I'm meteorologist Eileen Whalen. Make it a great Wednesday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.